Good evening and welcome to the inaugural edition of Ron the Geeky Rat Reviews a Terrible Movie. Why am I reviewing terrible movies? Well, I've been to many horror marathons over the years and have often found that the worst movies, ones with questionable special effects or odd plot elements, often turn out to be the best slash most hilarious movies. In this case, as suggested by one of my favorite Facebook stalkers, tonight's movie I'm going to review, The Ice Cream Man from 1995. This movie stars Clint Howard, Justin Eisenfeld, and Andy McPhee. So at this point, I'm going to let everybody know that there are definitely spoilers. I'm going to give a lot of in-depth details on the plot. If you want to watch the movie beforehand, you can either buy it on Amazon for $34.99, or if you look on the right spots on YouTube, you can find it streaming for free. I'm not exactly a fan of piracy, but hey, free is free, and some of us have a budget. So, that's your decision. Our film starts off in this nice black and white 1950s scene where we see a bunch of kids surrounding an ice cream truck, all happy, and it's a very idyllic scene. The ice cream man hands a sugary treat to one of his best customers, and then from down the street we see a black sedan pull up, two mobsters hop out, and gun down the ice cream man. Why do they gun down the ice cream man? Who knows? Reasons. But one of the kids who watches it sees it, and of course this drives him over the edge, and he winds up in the insane asylum. Uh, After the fade to black, we hit the title credits, and we are now in modern times. We of course see our young kid all grown up. His name, by the way, is Gregory Tudor, and he is being played by Mr. Clint Howard, who is the star of this film. And of course, he's running his own ice cream business, and he has an ice cream truck running down the street. We see all sorts of kids running out of their homes to go get ice cream from him. The very first kid who comes to get his favorite sugary treat happens to be a little bit of an unappreciative bastard, and he just throws the money at the ice cream man and gets ready to take his treat away and doesn't even say thank you. Of course, the ice cream man screws with him just a little bit and won't let him have it until he says thank you. His buddies grudgingly peer pressure him into saying thank you for the ice cream. The next kid who comes up and gets it is just as much of a rude kid. At this point, we see our hero here, hero being a relative term because he's a murderous psycho, getting stressed out, and he's dragging his nails across the countertop of his ice cream van. You see him digging in. He throws the change into a nice bucket just out of the kid's view, and in this bucket you start immediately noticing something's amiss. You see some white mice in there and a little bit of random weird viscera. After this, we see the stupid kids go play in the park, as stupid kids often do. Um, at one point, they all have to go scatter, and we're left with one kid sitting by himself and a man running around the park who has a poker who's picking up pieces of paper and trash with it. We see Mr. Tudor, our ice cream man, there in the background watching. As the man with the poker stabs each of the pieces of paper, you see Gregory having flashbacks to his time at the sanatorium. This, of course, eventually sends him into a murderous rage where he kills the old man and the kid out there in the park. He chops them up, shoves them into his back of his van, and we see him add them to his flavor of the week. That's pretty much the plot in general of the whole movie. It's him either screwing with kids or running and hiding from the cops. Major plot details are kind of here and there. Some of the more interesting bits we have, there is a part where the cops suspect the ice cream man, and they get a search warrant to go and check out his ice cream factory. And buddy, they are not gentle. They bring in axes and just break the hell out of everything, destroying the whole damn place, flipping over tons of vats of half-made ice cream and all sorts of stuff. But they never find anything, which is exceptionally cute because there is a kid he actually kidnaps, a little nerdy guy that he makes friends with. He doesn't actually chop this one up, he just makes him his buddy and starts teaching him and tutoring him in the ways of being an ice cream maker. He keeps this kid locked up in a secret room in the back of his freezer. So at this point, I feel the need to mention that the whole movie is told from the perspective of the kids, and it's as if the parents are all morons and have no idea what's going on. One of the kids actually witnesses the nerdy kid I spoke about earlier getting drugged into the back of the ice cream van, immediately runs home to tell his parents, who do not give a rat's ass because they're too busy fighting about their marriage. And of course, there is the overly religious parents who, when the daughter goes to tell them about that, they are all making her pray because they think she's being a sinner with a sinning mouth and nondescript religious thing that I didn't really get. Um, the movie has a nice big bit of runarounds. Mr. Tudor there, the nurse that cared for him in the sanatorium, is now caring for him in life and letting him live on her property, which also, of course, happens to be the ice cream factory. At this point, we find out the reason he has such an obsession with ice cream. When he was in the ice cream, or excuse me, not the ice cream, when he was in the sanatorium, they fed him ice cream every day and told him that every day had to be a happy day, and any day that wasn't, that's when they shoved the giant needle in his head, which was comedically large, and told him it's a happy day, it's a happy, happy day. They tortured this poor bastard kid with tons of ice cream and clowns. It's no wonder he turned out to be a damn lunatic. At one point, Mr. Tudor there gets annoyed by his nurse slash landlady's dog and kills the dog and buries it. There's this wonderfully funny little scene shortly after he buried the lady's dog where the cops get called out to the ice cream factory and they are looking for the kids. The lady, of course, thinks, oh, good, I called the cops. They're here to check out my dog. They don't give a shit about the dog. But the ice cream man is there, and they compliment his daisies. Now, his daisies, or sunflowers, if you will, he says, that's fine, thank you. They grow very nice and strong. Turns out they're little plastic pinwheel type things. Another interesting little tidbit about the movie is that the insane asylum, where all those scenes were shot, was actually covered in a shit ton of satanic graffiti. The cast and crew did not graffiti up a perfectly good asylum. It was already that way, and they decided to use it as was. So there's a little bit another creepy for you. But hey, save on money, right? The movie plot meanders around a little bit after this. You know, here and there, scaring kids, saying, you know, I'm going to get your family. Ooh, don't tell anybody, to the kids from our ice cream man. And you know, we end up at the big climactic scene. This is where we get some nice comedy, because we see such things as the ice cream man just straight up murder the shit out of the two cops. And it has one of the cuter, more hilarious scenes because after he's murdered the shit out of these two cops and decapitated them, he's chasing the kids around his backyard or a junkyard. It's not really clear. And he has the two cop heads decapitated with his hands in them using his hand puppets to torture and terrify the kids. Pretty hilarious for what it is. The movie ends up, of course, with the nerdy kid that was trapped in the freezer, figuring out how to screw with the ice cream man and luring him into the ice cream factory with a picture of his mentor, the ice cream man we saw gunned down at the very beginning of the movie. And he lures him into a giant mixer where they turn it on and he gets chopped to ribbons. Ha ha, the end. So far as our cast is concerned, we have Mr. Clint Howard, who, of course, is the brother of the famed director Ron Howard. He got his start in the Andy Griffith Show. Apparently, he played a background character of a little kid dressed in a cowboy outfit. Never had a line, but he would offer randomly Andy or, you know, sometimes Mr. Barney Fife a peanut butter sandwich, like, hey, do you want to buy my sandwich because I'm here? Mr. Howard there has had a pretty busy career. He's one of the only five actors to play in both the original Star Trek and Star Trek Enterprise. He played a kid in the third episode ever filmed of the original Star Trek and played a Ferengi in Enterprise. Currently, he has some part in the upcoming Han Solo movie, so go with him. Then we have Justin Eisenfeld, who played in the American Pie movies, and Annie McAfee, who was and is a voice actress. She did a lot of roles in the Land Before Time movies and a couple others. Not bad for her. The rest of the cast, as far as I could tell, didn't really do a damn thing. Now, the most interesting person for this movie would have to be the director, a Mr. Paul Norman. Interestingly enough, Mr. Paul Norman, his only major theatrical or motion picture film, or event if you will, would be this wonderful movie, The Ice Cream Man. According to IMDb, he has over 125 directing credits to his name, which is interesting. Now, some of the other titles of some of the other, shall we say, projects he's worked on include such fine things as The Hunchback of Notre Dame, uh, Innocence Found, The Midas Touch, and Women of Color. Okay, those don't sound too bad. As you continue reading, we have such fine sounding films as Edward Penis Hands, Edward Penis Hands 2, Edward Penis Hands 3, and Edward Penis Hands 4. He also has the Sexual Olympics 1 and Sexual Olympics 2, and other such great titles as, yeah, too much porn to mention. Apparently, he spent most of his career in the 90s directing pornography, and I believe he still does. As an interesting side note, while he was filming The Ice Cream Man, if I've counted correctly, he filmed no less than 15 adult movies. So while he was filming this movie, which was primarily composed of children, he was filming people on the side fucking. I didn't find much mention of his adult actors in the movie, not adult as in adult porn stars, but I would be willing to bet most of the adults he pulled in this movie were probably porn stars he had on the side. So yeah, put that in your little head when you watch this movie. The guy that directed that was best at making titty flicks. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is where the two cops who were used as hand puppets were investigating the ice cream man, and they decided that since they were investigating and looking for these missing kids, they went and bought ice cream from him. When they asked what the flavor of the day was, he was all, "It's Rocky Road." And one of the cops asked him for some. So the ice cream man turned around and was scooping out the chocolate ice cream, and in place of marshmallows on this rocky road, he used eyeballs from the kid that they were looking for. The scene was quite funny because the cops started eating this chocolate rocky road ice cream with eyeballs in it and just chewing away on the eyeball, never even realizing it wasn't a marshmallow. From the perspective of the audience, of course, it was a very cheap rubber eyeball, but it made for a wonderfully comedic effect. If I had to place a number value on the movie in terms of ratings, it's a solid 5 or 6. It would be best watched with a big group of people, maybe slightly drunk, or in, a big horror film marathon. Something that I wouldn't go out of my way to watch again, but it was well worth the, hour or 2 hours that I spent on it. When I watch this movie again, sure, what the hell, but like I said earlier, it's going to have to be in a marathon type setting or with a group of people. It is not something I think I could stomach again just by itself because it's there. It was okay, but worth a watch. Thanks, Renee, for the suggestion. As far as my video, I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, let me know in the comments. If you didn't like it, let me know. Either way, kids, have a happy day. Have a happy, happy day.